listening to the Holy Spirit of Gravel podcast. Follow at Holy Spirit of Gravel on Instagram. Today, we discuss the cultural divide between the online gravel discourse versus the rural communities in which gravel events take place. We use the lens of the cancelled Midsouth race in the wake of the wildfires surrounding Stillwater, Oklahoma, to talk more about the spirit of gravel in 2025.
Yo. Midsouth 2025. The greatest race of the year?
It certainly put Midsouth on the map. As if it wasn't already one of the most popular ones. Of course, this could only happen to a non-lifetime.
I consider
It's interesting to think.
Midsouth to be one of the gravel monuments of America, so...
Oh, absolutely.
It's definitely... it's certainly just on our mind because it's the preseason of Lifetime, but also just such a big deal because it felt like everyone was going this year, basically. Like, normies and privateers.
Yeah, it's like the preseason start of the season. Valley of Tears was the pre-season. And then there's some random ones in the South. There's the Rock Cobbler in California happened, and that one was the pre-season. But yeah, Mid-South, disaster gravel, that was already the joke that was going around from all the people that were still thinking about Valley of Tears. But of course,
So,
it's hypothermia pales in comparison to real destruction.
So do we even need to talk about, contextualize Mid-South in the gravel scene and the spirit of gravel and what it represents?
I didn't know that Mid-South, since I started following gravel as a culture, I would say in 2020, Mid-South was one of the first ones I'd heard of. And Mid-South was one of the only ones that to me had content that was easy to find and digestible, and you understood the narrative of this race being the cool punk rock one or something. And I didn't know that it had been around for 10 years until I think this one, and I just didn't realize. But yeah, I think everyone knows what Mid-South is and how it's different from an Unbound or one of those ones.
Yeah, I'd say even just following the YouTube channel, they've had a very coherent build up to the race as well, which is why the speed at which the situation changed it's just a very interesting study and a mass event and something that clearly means a lot to a lot of people. So
something that so much thought gets put into. There's I didn't end up making a meme about this, but because I couldn't find enough good screen caps, but this the Unbound, all the different shirts, and usually a race will have the jersey with the logo and then maybe some bibs with the logo, maybe a cap or something. But this one, it's has an entire line of all kinds of clothing, streetwear styled, the mugs, the bandanas, the coffee, the branded IPA, literally everything. I saw a new, I wasn't even necessarily looking for this stuff, but a new post every other day. It's so well, and it manages to keep that sort of alt aesthetic while still being clearly very produced. That's not even a bad thing to say about something, is that it's produced. That doesn't mean corporate or whatever, but
yeah,
great coherent package.
In a world where everybody's unhappy with everything, it just feels like everybody kind of loves this race when, everyone loves to hate everything these days. But, so going into Friday, of this weekend, is it one of the really long runs? Is it, I'm American, so I don't know, 100K, 50K, I think it was 30 miles, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, the half the marathon and the half marathon. And then I saw the first bit of drama, which paled in comparison to everything else, but was that people were complaining. So part of the course apparently went through private land that they get permission to ride through, which is not an uncommon thing in gravel. But there was notice out that do not pre-ride this. It's only going to be open on race day. And then I saw a privateer call out other privateers for riding through that. And then some normies actually, I guess they saw it too, or maybe they had heard it on the ground there, but were complaining that other privateers were complaining that some were going out and pre-riding, even though it was like explicitly stated not to do that. And everything's on Strava, so there was like proof that they had done it or something. So like going into like Friday, that was like the quote unquote spiciest thing that I had heard. I guess that was on the Thursday, and then Thursday was also where all the best pictures, well, like the only pictures that are of anyone riding over the weekend for the most part are from other than like the privateer photo shoots, which all have to happen at this one and at Unbound, at Gravel World, all the lifetime ones. Gravel Worlds, during all the pre-rides, they have to get all their promotional pictures. But was like I think it was called the Jorts ride, where you're supposed to just dress in like street clothes. Basically dress how I used to dress when we used to ride 60s all around town. Like with no helmets, no lights, no brakes, like complete degenerates. That's kind of like the theme. It was like the punk rock ride. Seemed short, cool, fun, all the pictures of Bobby Wintle like commanding a crowd. Yeah, that was on Thursday, I think, and then Friday was the run, and then everything happened after the run, or like towards the end of the run.
So as the run's going on, wildfires spreading in the adjacent communities of Stillwater, Oklahoma, and with a 100-mile course, that's going to touch a lot of communities, and the impact is valid. Definitely tragedy, and people have lost their homes, but I think it's interesting to kind of observe gravel from the perspective of people like that are very into it, following it online, but then you're kind of descending upon this community once a year. So I know it's interesting to observe the spread of information. Like, where were you getting information from as following it as a gravel fan?
So yeah, I even think this is like a discussion on like, it's very like, it should be clear that neither of us were there, and neither of us have ever been to Midsouth, and neither of us were there. Everything I was getting.
I've been to Stillwater though. So
you've been yeah, you have connections to that area. I've never even been to Oklahoma, but I was getting things from privateers' accounts. I had put out this story on the Holy Spirit account that said like, "Hi, send me any gossip that I can use," which I've done before. And people usually like do send stuff like, "Oh, the privateers are bitching at each other," or something like that. Like, but then people started sending me. Actually, I do remember now. The first person that sent me anything related to the fire was Chase Ward, friend of the account. Chase Ward sent me like a video of him like putting like his hoodie up to his head in smoke. But I didn't listen to the story at first, so I was just like, "Oh wow, it's really windy. Are they like, you still gonna like? I bet that's gonna be a crazy race." And then he said they're probably not gonna have it, and I was like, "Wow, is it like 100-mile-per-hour winds?" I didn't realize it was fire at first, and then people started sending me other things, and I was like, "Oh." Then I went back to the thing he had sent me and played it with audio, and I realized. But all my news, there was like nothing except a few notices on like the Midsouth account, which I follow. But all the news was from like privateers, and they were like very on the ball, some of them, about like the AQI was the buzzword, air quality index of the weekend, and they were like on top of the AQI maps, like minute to minute posting as like the numbers were getting more and more in the red.
Yeah, was AQI a big deal? Was it the Utah race in the Lifetime Series last year that they canceled?
Yeah, they canceled preemptively like, because the AQI
was a big buzzword like back then, but it's glad we got to see AQI kind of get its moment again. Just everyone's endurance athletes are concerned about their lungs, as they should be, but
there is the spectrum of like, they were being open about how they were talking to each other. So I had a few of them in my DMs, and I was also proactively asking like, "Yo, what's up?" And like, for people that don't realize, I don't mean to blow up the spot, but privateers like typically are really chill, and if you just DM them something, like when they have a chance, they will respond, even without like the reach of my account. I've like DM'd a privateer asking like, "Do you like this wheel set or this wheel set?" Something like that it doesn't even have any like cultural message behind it, and they respond. But yeah, the privateers were telling me like, "This is crazy, I don't know." They were being very open about it because, of course, like their job also is to tell a story. through their accounts. Like, that's part of what they get paid by brands to do. There was a lot of, what kind of surprised me was, there was a lot of, like, aesthetic posting. And I don't even know if they meant it like that, but that is kind of how it came across from some of them, of, like, stylized photos of themselves in smoke, which was interesting. It seemed to have happened really quick. Like, people were in areas that had to get evacuated. And who knows how many, like, how turned out this town gets in terms of, like, people giving up their houses to make money to turn them into Airbnbs, which is completely valid. So people were getting evacuated, and, like, they said they were seeing ash on their yards. Yeah, it seemed to be happening pretty quickly.
You basically were just DMing them, did you get trip insurance on your Airbnb, or what? Like,
Dude, kid, yeah, no, I was like, so you gonna do it? That's mostly what, like, when it wasn't clear exactly what was going on, it was just like,
right.
Yo, you doing it? Yo, what's happening? Yo.
Because, like, I feel like it's important to note that while we follow the gravel part of it and the pro, there's tons of people there just to, like, have a great weekend, like, that's the majority of people. And then there's the runners who, like, I don't understand runners, but, like, they're producing, like, these other long endurance races, like, while this is going on. So it just,
yeah, they
I don't know, it sounds
crazy.
It sounds like just so much is going on, and, like, it underscores what it takes to plan these things and get a small town on board with producing this type of thing that is, like, it's either disruptive or it's something that, like, all the businesses want and all the hotels want and everyone wants. Like, it's just a very, like, there's Oklahoma State football games, and then there's probably Midsouth, and it's interesting to think about. We want to believe that gravel's impacting small town economies, and it probably does, but just the spillover into the other towns too is just the interesting part of this.
Yeah, and then there's the other towns that everyone has to drive through. Like, let's say you're scouting the course, or you're the photographer that's capturing, or you're actually writing it. The 8 stations that get set up. There was, like, this town called Guthrie that name kept popping up, which, like, obviously doesn't have the cultural reach that Stillwater does. But people were just like, and the AQI is even worse in Guthrie, a place, like, I would have never heard of unless, either in that context or, like, me being out there writing it and then having to, like, ride through Guthrie. But yeah, I had the observation of, like, I wonder if any of these people that give up their houses and their homes through Airbnb or whatever other means, like, watching, or somewhere else, watching this descend on their town, like the fire, and just, like, through these privateers' accounts, and just, like, watching, like, this fire threaten their homes, and these privateers make all these posts about, we're having to pack up, and just, like, shoving bikes into cars, and just, like, having to be witnessing that through, like, an Instagram story of that being your home. It's just like, oh, God.
Man, I don't know. It's definitely, like, a huge bummer. It's obviously the victims who lost property, memories, belongings, and, like, just that tragedy, and then just zooming out to even people lost weekends, but that happens, but even just the idea of what you said about privateers, how they're there to tell a story and that's their primary job, like, I don't know, something underscores the idea of considering these people professionals, but they're kind of in this holding pattern. Like, it didn't matter if they raced or something. Like, they were there and it was a very big deal. And, like,
they were there and it was, yeah, and, like, the ones who were being proactive about posting, I'm sure, earned followers and, like, had metrics. I made memes before any of this was even happening that I posted the morning of. And, like, I could see those were just, like, blowing up in the wake. Like, I made a meme about, like, Midsouth getting canceled. And, like, the owners of, like, the boutique steel branded bikes, like the All Cities and the Crusts and all that, like, being the most hurt by it. And it's just like, oh shit, Midsouth did end up getting canceled. I was just like, damn.
You're like, would you rather go to Valley of Tears and do a dirt crit and win, somehow pick up $1,000 or $2,000, or accidentally go to Midsouth and it be canceled and you kind of just paid for a trip, but you got some good content?
Yeah, and
I don't know. Like,
and, like,
just the absurdity of the privateer existence, where you kind of are this self-reporter of your whereabouts. It's very interesting to think about. Like,
yeah, and obviously, like, we don't have any frame of reference. Like, neither of us have been professional athletes. So, like, this compared to being, like, in the World Tour, what are the nuanced differences? Like, obviously, there are many. But it's like, it seemed to me, and I guess I could be off on this, but, like, they seemed very free to, like, walk away. Like, it didn't, like, it seemed like it wasn't, like, at the risk of their careers. And I'm getting this off things they were posting. Like, I'm valuing my health, and I know my sponsors will be okay with this, was, like, the message that was getting out. And they were
Here's
like,
a question.
not all of them. Yeah, go on.
Does anybody have a bad relationship with their sponsors? Just because everyone posts, like, I have a great relationship with my sponsor.
Right.
I mean, it's a very funny canned phrase to read so many times. Like,
maybe that's when, like, you find out, like, oh, wow, he was on Specialized last year, and now he's on Scott. Is this, like, the only, like, look into that you'll get? Or it's like, oh, wow, they were a Pas Normal rider last year, and now they're not. Is, like, the only insight. Because I don't think I've ever seen anyone, like, badmouth an ex-sponsor or anything. And like, of course, the way a lot of professionals word their captions is very measured, as should be. They're professionals, and this is part of their job. But, you know, it never feels like raw and unfiltered. But it was interesting.
Pas Normal is switching a lot of their focus to cyclocross this year, so we decided to go in different directions.
Isn't that crazy how, yeah. I wonder if Pas Normal had any riders at this one. They did have a couple at Valley of Tears. Is Pas Normal the actual, like, tastemaker in this? They went to Valley of Tears and not Midsouth? Wow. Kind of says something. But
yeah, I feel like if we can, like, the discussion about just, to me, just, so Friday around 5 p.m., I think it's like everyone knew it was a bad situation, and, like, Bobby was there hugging runners at the finish line. According to the video, he had uploaded 2 videos Friday night, right, the Midsouth account. I think the first one was, like, we're still planning on doing everything, and in the midst of this, there's still the sort of predictable, like, the behavior online of the calls, I don't know, to cancel, essentially, or just a very, I don't know, I feel like there's vitriol in things that people feel passionate about in the moment, there are safety concerns, and certainly, eventually, it was canceled, but just, it was a very intense evening, I'd say, like.
I would not, like, I kept saying this, because people were, not so much, the privateers are having their own discussions, it's like, and I think even before the first video came out, they seemed like they had already made a consensus, at least among most of them, to not do it. And some of them were already leaving town. And I guess they were waiting, and then there were some who were like, okay, if it's still on, then I will, kind of thing, but I'm hoping that it's not still on because I don't actually want to do it, kind of vibe. And then that first video came out, which had kind of an interesting look to it, because it seemed like a situation that was obviously unfolding very quickly, but then that video compared to the second video, which looked kind of off the cuff. The first video was, like, produced, like, there was, like, lighting, and it was, like, edited in a way, you know, that was interesting. And that video, yeah, a lot of people were really upset about it, and were kind of piling on Bobby Wintle, and I just kept, like, saying, like, I would not like to be him right now. Just, like, or not even him specifically, but just a race organizer in this situation. And the tone of that video seemed to, like, really upset people. Him mentioning, like, the the t-shirt pickup, and, like, how we need a party. Yeah, like, I think people got over it as, like, the night went on into the next day. But yeah, people were kind of piling in on him. I felt kind of bad for him, because you and I both, like, he obviously has a very distinct personality and character type, coming from someone who's never met him, but I feel like you and I both know people that are kind of like that. You know what I mean? Like, very, like positive, and, like, very open and raw, and able to, like, command a kind of community, and, like, make people feel, like, very valued and special, and, like, make it worthwhile to keep coming to this event. Like, it's clearly really incredible what he's done. But I also think personalities like that sometimes, I don't know if that was the case here, but, like, I feel like we've both experienced, sometimes personalities like that can, like, that kind of enthusiasm can come out in ways that like rub people the wrong way, and him implying that like it might still go on. It's like he seems like all heart and soul, and I don't think he meant anything. It just seemed like he's someone that didn't want to upset people that like he feels and believe in him and believe in this race as like a movement and a real experience. And then people people are in my comment, like people make jokes about him being drunk and stuff, and I was just like, I think he's in a really tough spot right now. Again, as someone that does not know the guy, but
right. I think just we want to like have what is a race, and it's like an organization, some sort of business entity, nonprofit, and I think we want to project that they have some sort of responsibility with the perceived following they've built. But if we strip it down, it's really just like people volunteering time to do something cool, and it's like, is it part of the business of his bicycle shop, like this bonus thing that takes tons of work and generates a great weekend for the community? It's like, we can't, I don't know, he's doing the best he can with like the stakeholders in the community. Like, to me, it's like the absurdity of gravel and sort of the, back to the discourse of being an online community versus being like in these rural towns that you're literally going to go to once every 3 years. Like if you're just a normal gravel rider who wants to do some of these destinations. Like, we don't know what like the Stillwater small businesses want. We don't like, I don't know, like for all we know, a lot of people in these communities don't know what's going on. But also to the ones that do, he wasn't, I don't know, I just can't imagine he was obsessed with the race. He was just like, probably just didn't want to let people down, like, and say,
no, exactly. And I think it seemed like people forgave him because people were like, how dare he say party in this moment? I don't know what actual people, like Stillwater residents, were thinking. I'm sure they weren't. They had more pressing matters than like the Bobby Winslow video. But
right.
Yeah,
and it's like he probably knows all of the firemen who like cut off streets and off-duty police officers. Like, it's just interesting to like think that, I don't know, because we have our beliefs and like responsibility that the people that are doing these things that take years of work like aren't thinking about these things. It's just very. Yeah, I mean, the pylon is just so quick, I think. But
it felt like the pylon was. Yeah, like obviously, yes. Should he have just canceled it from the beginning? Like, yes, obviously. But it is also like, it felt more like it was about like critiquing his optics or something, which it just. Maybe I just read like maybe one too many like posts, other people's posts, and it's something I do on this account because I'm not somewhat like I'm not like people. I'm not a pro, and I'm not any more connected than anyone else. And I get when I am on the Holy Spirit account, I'm like very curious when I get new followers, and I can see they have the ring around their icon, and so I like want to see like their stories and stuff, and like I'm just curious who these people are, like in the moment when I'm on my phone. And like a lot of people were, I don't know, like I keep saying, it felt like a bit, in that moment, it felt like a bit of a pile-on, and it's just like, obviously it's going to get canceled, obviously a bunch of people aren't going to do it. It's like, it felt like at the end, like the conclusion, the correct response was going to get reached at some point. It just was a bit later for, I think, the people that make a habit of like critiquing in a moment or something, which in like internet culture, that's a big part of I don't know, like any kind of pop culture. But so, yeah, he ended up coming to the right.
Here's the question though. At the end of the year, will Midsouth, the race that didn't happen, be the biggest race of the gravel calendar? I think that says something about the state of gravel and the state of lifetime. Like, this was it was a phenomenon, I feel like, and it was kind of a big deal. But I feel like the amount of news and just even like, I want to go to Midsouth more next year, just to like,
absolutely
to experience it, to know it's going to be there. I feel, no matter how you felt about how it was handled, I just don't know how, like, you don't feel that way about this, if you like gravel.
No, I really do think that, for, like, gravel not having a cohesive narrative, really, like, the only threads through the sport lately have been tire talk. It's like, and then there's different podcasts with people talking shit about wide tires, or like, you don't need them, or like, why, like, for all does. I don't think Lifetime Grand Prix has created something that has the impact of the Mid-South narrative. And they've done, and it's like, yeah, we all want to go because it's like we're gonna come back bigger and better and stronger. I've wanted to go since I discovered it. It was like the first race that was like on my radar that felt like, oh, okay, yeah, this is for like people like us. Where I don't know that I felt that way about Unbound. But yeah, like I definitely think that this has potential to be definitely like, I don't know, it's something to say about like how gravel interacts with communities. Like right now, some people started riding as like it became kind of like a charity ride that was starting this morning, which is the Sunday after. And so yeah, like of course, like there was no doubt that they were going to set up a fund on their website, which I'm sure is getting good money, I'd hope, anyway.
Dude, are we already an anti-cancel culture podcast? I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know, but just there is a case to be made that the race could have gone on. I'm kidding, maybe, but it did seem pretty clear the next day. But certainly straining resources is bad. But
yeah,
the truth is we don't know, but like everyone's safe.
But, like I think the truth is
the riders and
it was always going to be canceled. Like there was just like,
right.
And it was funny seeing like people were sending me. Was it you or did someone send me like from the Facebook group? Of course, there's like a certain type of person that's already like in the Facebook group arguing. Like, I grew up tough, and I grew up with smoker parents, and I'm gonna ride. You can't tell me what to do, or something like that. And it's like, yeah, you can still ride. Like it is. I think it's one thing for the privateers to project their narrative of like, you know what, my sponsor says it's okay, so I'm leaving. And I'm not saying they have no personal cost in this, or they're able, like they have a luxury of resources they can do this. But like, for people like us, it is like, we do like, I can't go to Midsouth. I didn't go this year because I have to put all my resources into going to Unbound, which I got into. And I can only do one of these. Like, I'm just a regular person. And also, even if you don't get into the whole culture of everything, just like these races, like make it easier for people like us to ride 100 miles. Like it's hard to go out and ride 100 miles on gravel as a normal person. It's like having aid stations makes it easier, or having like the safety net of SAG or something makes it easier. Like I can't just go out and ride 100 miles, but like next weekend or something. Like it's not gonna happen. Like having a porta potty out in the middle of nowhere. And so it's like, this is one of like the only times that I can ride 100 miles and like, and have it be, you know, and be able to just focus on the ride and not have it to be like some kind of stressful planning experience, or like me having to like leave an ice chest out in the middle of nowhere, which is something I've done before. But yeah.
Man, yeah, so just like, to all the people that like care about Stillwater, you can still go to District Bicycle. I'm on their website. You can buy a Trek checkpoint, and you can go stay at a hotel in Stillwater and go out to a nice dinner, and you can help the economy. You don't have to go to Midsouth. You can just go to Stillwater.
You can go ride. Right. You can go ride the routes. They're on Ride GPS.
They have Surly's and Salsas, and this is like
perfect.
It's just,
those are
interesting,
like the approved Mid-South Grands.
Back to just like the point of everything, but yeah, it was an interesting weekend to observe.
Me being like, oh yeah, I forget that District Bicycles is I forget Bobby Winkel's like a bike mechanic or something. It's like like that's just like where this started.
Right. Yeah.
Is he actually a bike mechanic, or is he just like the guy that's like behind the POS computer, just like being really cool and talking to people? There's always one of those two that's like always there, but never really seems to be working on the bike.
Yeah, it doesn't like, I feel like there is also, he's clearly not this, but the genre of like guy who accidentally bought a bike shop. Like, I think that's a common one of just like,
yeah.
Wait, what? What did I buy? I thought I'd just like repair bikes all day and like make tons of money, and it's like, no, you end up throwing like a gravel ride, and that becomes a whole thing. And
there's one of those in Emporia too, and I forget what it's called. I've looked it up before. The bike shop there, that kind of like everything runs out of on the weekend. To my understanding, anyway. I've never been to Unbound, but
yeah. Wait, one more outlier like theory is like, does Midsouth, you know how the World Cup in Qatar, didn't they move it to the winter or something? Like, does this call for a 6 month? I don't know. I don't even know what the weather would be like in whatever month that would be. But I don't know. Just there's just so much demand to like want to be part of it or something. It's just interesting to think about. Like, it probably sucks to like, I don't even know, refund or all these events. Like, acts of God can cancel all of them, and like acts of God in your own life as well, or like shit happening.
Yeah, people were messaging me like in some interactions I was having. People were like, "Oh," when they were being really negative on his first video, and which like was deserving of some critique or something. It did just feel like kind of a pile on, but people were like, "Oh, it must be a money thing, money at stake." And like I don't know the business side of this, but I'm like, even like I feel like every race has the like refunds will not be offered if like cancellation due to inclement weather or something like that.
Dude, the spirit of gravel is that you're a normie, you're not actually fast, and this is just like a fun vacation. So like, chill out and like, I don't know.
This isn't
it's
your
a bummer.
home.
It's a bummer, but you're gonna have to hang out with your kids this weekend, like, which is it's all. And on to the next thing, right? Just get back on the trainer and hate yourself and listen to more podcasts. But yeah, so what's next on the gravel calendar? Like, when is Big Sugar the first lifetime, and then there's stuff before that? So we're still in the pre.
No, Big Sugar is the last lifetime.
Oh, okay,
the first one is Sea Otter.
Oh yeah, they all have such dumb names. They're all kind of one to me. So.
Yeah, it's Big Sugar. What is? I don't know the derivation of the Big Sugar name, but it's probably there was some hill or something called Big Sugar or something like that. I don't know. It's actually the cult that the Walton family started or something. It has something to do with that. Sea Otter.
Why are we not talking more about the Sea Otter course change to be more gravelly? Isn't that what everyone is talking about? And it's like,
that might be one of the next episodes where we talk about the gravel versus mountain biking setup in the lifetime. We are going to have to dedicate an episode to that because we have had many conversations about that. I feel I've had conversations with pros and DMs about. You would like. I cannot stress enough. Some of these people like are really down to talk about anything. Just DM them. You never know. Yeah, Sea Otter is April 10th through 13th. Yeah, maybe one of these days I'll go. Quite the expo. I can probably get enough gels or something. Maybe like Mucha tire off a tent or something like that. My next race is this coming weekend, the Rattlesnake Gravel, which has been going on for a few years now. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know, I feel like because of Texas weather, we're really lucky in that like the early gravel season is like the main season in Texas because it just gets too hot to ride in the summer months. And so the last event is at like the end of May, like Gravel Locos. Maybe there's like one or two after that. But yeah, it gets way too hot. And then you don't see events pop up again or gravel events anyway, pop up again till like late September, October really. So they're coming thick and fast in Texas. But yeah, Rattlesnake, there's going to be some pros there, some privateers, mostly normie. Definitely, it doesn't seem to me, because I've never done it before, but it doesn't seem to me like it has the kind of corporate feel that Valley of Tears had. So looking forward to it. It's a lot of it apparently is on private ranch land. So yeah, we'll see if there's any drama there of people cutting the course or putting their nose where they don't belong in a couple of days early. I don't know how all that'll work out. The vegan cyclist is going to be there.
Man, this is all so compelling. It makes me want to get into Euro gravel. I'm just like, is there? I need a little bit more here. But
yeah, Euro gravel. The thing is, like, it's happening. Like, there's some of those people that I follow, and then you just like all of a sudden they just like post from like a race in Africa, and you're just like, what? Or like they post from like some mountaintop in Italy that they rode to. It was like some unpaved road. They all look cool. All the European gravel races look cool, and then you actually go to them, and I feel like they'll all be just like muddy paths and like the side road that goes through like the wineries or something. It's like the ATV road.
Yeah, we'll see. Just more. It is good that the season is starting, but I'm not sure. So we just got two sort of natural disaster race.
Two natural disaster races. Apparently, in Rattlesnake, they bring out live rattlesnakes, and there's handlers there that like hold them in a way that it is acceptable for you to touch them. So maybe a privateer will get like bit by a rattlesnake or something accidentally. The vegan cyclist, I don't know.
That instead of having an expo with like athletic coaches and jail companies, energy drinks, and Chinese wheel sets, there's just going to be like a carnival.
No, that is the vibe. That is the vibe. But I think that'll be kind of cool, like as a bit of like maybe a contradiction to Valley of Tears. But I am gonna try.
You can only go home with so many regional powders that are like carbs and energy and protein, and they're just like, is this gonna like kill me if I eat it?
Dude, we got a bunch of stuff from Never Second brand, and so I was trying for the first time ever like liquid carbs. To my knowledge, I might have back in my early days, I was just putting whatever powder they gave me into like my uninsulated water bottle and then drinking it, and it's all hot after like 15 minutes. But now that I know a vague amount more than I used to, yeah, I thought, let me try drinking carbs, and then like the first ride, it was like disgusting. And it's like they always throw around the term gut train. Let me try it again. And then I squeezed some lime into it, and it was immediately better.
We should launch a cycling-specific performance product called Fent TP, like FTP, but with Fent.
Yeah, we can get on that. I bet I could get some. I have like a rich uncle, and I'll borrow some money from him that I can then use to pay a privateer to show it. I have a few in mind. But no, I'm gonna try to like film video content at Rattlesnake. I asked a couple privateers today in DMs if they would consider doing a bike check. So we'll see. I'm throwing my hat into that ring. I don't think I'm gonna be on camera. I'm gonna like hold my GoPro. I have a GoPro, my phone. I don't know. I ordered some cheap Amazon mics, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'll only do it if I figure out a way that I for sure will take the least amount of their time as possible. These people have tires to test and chains to wax and like long, meandering Instagram captions to write. I can't take up too much of their time. But I'm gonna give it a shot. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. If it's shit, I'm not gonna post it. It's like I don't care that much about my brand, but I do care a little bit. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if your talent for putting font on crappy memes and making them about gravel can translate.
If it can translate to me, yeah. Yeah, I already like I don't want to like reveal too much, but like one of the writers that I asked has like a medical condition, and they're very like open about it. And I was like, can I make a pun about your medical condition? It's like, I don't know. We'll see if like stealing templates and like using my finger to like use the paint option to wipe away the previous text and then like putting my own text on there. Those skills.
Yeah.
Translate.
The advice I can give you is what everyone else seems to be doing is like ask Dylan Johnson to talk about his bike, and like that's really the only strategy anybody has in gravel right now. So I don't know. That's all.
Yeah, Dylan Johnson's not going to this one. He's already doing his Unbound block.
Yeah, you can Zoom with him or something. But yeah, I guess Midsouth came and went, and we'll see what happens next.
We'll see what it does for the culture. Like people that were piling on Bobby Wintle the night before, like the Friday afternoon. It seemed like Saturday night when it did kind of turn into a party. Of course, not like a rager, but they had their live music, and he started. Of course, he was always going to organize some kind of fun to help people, and it seemed they were in the streets, and there was people that had gone off on their own and ridden, and like there was some guy that had lost his leg, and then he rode 50 miles, or And it did seem like a party with tact and respect. People weren't like dancing on graves or anything like that. It's not how it seemed to me. I just think this isn't an anti-cancel culture podcast, but I think it is the like, let's see how things play out podcast. Let's let it reach its conclusion.
Yeah, he canceled it, and it's good we don't have to be on the hashtag Bobby Wintle did nothing wrong like train already. So, because I feel like I would be, but
yeah,
it'll be a lot of people will be on the wait list next year. It's all going to be fine, and
are we actually going to be screwed for a whole other year because the people that are like, it's like everyone who signed up and couldn't do it are going to get like auto enrolled into next year? Like that would be fair, but
we'll see. Hopefully they just open up more distances or something. But anyways, real people were affected by this. And yeah, gravel cycling. Just remember, only 16 people are into this stuff. So just like
imagine if they didn't give them money and they just gave these people like a surly.
Man, they might like use it as kindling or something, or I don't even know. Just important to remember. It's like gravel's important to us, but like definitely just a drop in the bucket or something. So
we're in their backyard. It's like, don't make a mess, please. It's like, stay out of the way of real life.